kick in of protecting your child. Juveniles that are doing this have to be held accountable. The system that's in place now is simply not working.
Watch as 4 suspects slowly creep up and surround a car stopped on Wheeling Street in Federal Hill. Inside, 37-year-old Val and his 8-year-old son. The suspects open the car doors and then begin to shout at the father and son to get out of the car. One suspect begins to punch the father in the face.
They had a whole scheme going. One grabbed my key, the other one sucker punched me twice.
With the key fob still near, the father says he was able to start his car and hit the gas. Baltimore police say they were able to track down the juveniles about a mile away from the scene. 3 teens, ages 16, 15, and 13, were taken into custody.
Police say the suspect arrested in last week's violent assault and robbery is just 15 years old.
Investigators say the teen and 2 others beat and robbed the victim along Baltimore Street.
The 18-year-old suspect is under arrest in connection with the Baltimore shooting that killed 2 people and injured 28 others during a block party on Sunday.
It all started in East Baltimore when an officer's license plate reader alerted to a car wanted in an armed robbery. Police say 2 15-year-old males and a 17-year-old male are now in custody.
In Baltimore County this evening, addressing an ongoing issue in the area, youth crime. 9 teenagers were arrested in the county this week, accused of robberies across the county and the city.
We are following 2 juvenile robberies over the weekend. Baltimore police say 8 to 10 young people robbed a store around 7:30 last night in Pigtown, assaulting a man inside.
This Louise, 76 years old, not showing her face, but talking about what happened near her home. Police say a 15-year-old male was walking down Brims Lane near Brandon Avenue Thursday afternoon when a group of males, some of them armed with guns, approached the teen. Police say they assaulted the victim, struck him in the face, and robbed him of $5.
The Regional Auto Theft Task Force took in 2 teens accused of being connected to an armed carjacking. The arrests come as the police department continues to grapple with reports of groups carrying out a recent rash of robberies.
We're looking for now 3 vehicles, suspect vehicles, driven by 5 to 7 juveniles.
A series of street robberies and carjackings strike southeastern neighborhoods in Baltimore City again. Home security cameras caught one of the incidents on South Robinson Street in Canton at 5:30 in the morning. Cars pull up, passengers jump out, and target this person's vehicle.
Yo, what's up, people? We is back. Another day on Keep It G News. And they always in Baltimore City, y'all, to talk about something that I think we're facing in a lot of cities, especially big cities, and that's what to do with juvenile violence. You know, a lot of people have been screaming out to the heavens about these kids and what need to be done, and it need to be stiffer laws and stiffer consequences for juveniles committing these crimes. Well, in Maryland, many people believe that they answered the bell. You know, a lot of people been calling and they answered the phone. And they decided now that it was a good idea to widen the range of charges that a 10 and 12-year-old can be charged with. Now, in this clip I'm going to play for y'all, I'm going to take y'all to the news. Because Ivan Bates had a back and forth with a woman about this exact same issue. And I want y'all to listen to what the Fox 45 had to say in relation to what Ivan Bates had to say.
City State's Attorney Ivan Bates and Baltimore police walked the streets of the Old Goucher community tonight. Residents complain about crime, and they say it's gone unchecked in the community. Thank you for joining us. I'm Kai Jackson.
And I'm Maxine Stryker. During that walk, Bates took questions from residents, including a heated exchange with one woman who criticized his prosecution policies.
I really hope that in the future you continue to advocate for solutions that will actually address the root cause of the problem and not just continue to lock up and demonize Black and brown children.
I was a criminal defense attorney for 20 years. I represented so many Black and brown children. I get it, but I also got to remember the victims and the witnesses of crime are having their voices not heard in Baltimore City.
Now, Bates also taking issue with a proposal from the mayor's office surrounding young people charged with stealing a car. Mackenzie Frost has that story in just a moment.
Our team coverage begins with Vincent Hill and the tense moments during tonight's crime walk. Vincent, you were right. That exchange with Mr. Bates and the woman did get heated.
Yeah, Kyle, a lot of back and forth. Most residents wanted to talk about things like prostitution and open-air drug markets, but as you could see, she was criticizing Bates about his handling of juvenile crime. In the old Goucher neighborhood.
Welcome our state attorney, Ivan Bates.
Residents addressing their concerns to City State's attorney, Ivan Bates.
Someone asked you, can you please be quiet at 2 o'clock in the morning because your children are trying to sleep. Now you're going to attack their property. That is not cool.
Everything from vandalism to prostitution, they say, happens right at their doorstep.
On this corner is like wild.
Primarily with the solicitation and prostitution and basically streetwalkers, and then the Johns coming here for all that.
Bates addressing those concerns in his latest crime walk.
Holding the Johns responsible and accountable is something we definitely are going to do.
But while most were there to hear solutions, not everyone greeted Bates with a round of applause.
Because I've been pretty upset with some things that I've been seeing coming from your office around advocating to incarcerate children.
This woman in a very heated debate with Bates, even calling out Fox 45 when it comes to juvenile crime and how it's being reported.
I feel like there's just some rhetoric coming from your office and Fox News pushing that children are responsible for crime and like further villainizing and criminalizing black children as a result.
She's claiming Bates was behind changes in the juvenile crime laws that will lead to mass incarceration.
And advocating for legislation to increase jail time for children.
Bates responding.
Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to explain, because I have never advocated to lock up children.
But was quickly cut off.
So you're advocating for the legislation that passed.
It doesn't lock up children.
It increases all of the minimum sentencing for children.
It never did that. No, ma'am, it did not. That's it. We can read the legislation.
Bates referring to the Sense petition, or Child in Need of Services, for any child 10 to 12 who steals a car for the first time, which calls for 0 jail time.
Nowhere are we saying that we want to build juvenile jails, we want to lock children up. What we're saying is DJS must give the services to the young people.
But the back and forth was far from over.
While I hear your answers, I really hope that in the future you advocate for solutions that will actually address the root cause of the problem and not just continue to lock up and demonize black and brown children.
Bates taking that comment a little personal.
As a black man, trust me, I understand about black and brown children. I have one. But what I will also tell you, I have to be about accountability. What I did not hear you mention once was the victim. They're black and brown people in the communities, and they're sick and tired of being preyed upon by children that look like them.
Bates says it's not about rhetoric, but about the numbers.
I look at the numbers, and we can sit down and tell you the number of robberies have exploded with 16 to 18-year-olds.
And the victims the city's juvenile crime problem is leaving behind.
I have to really think about those individuals.
And taking a look at some more of those numbers, there have been 37 larcenies and 7 burglaries in that neighborhood so far this year. And residents say it's a direct result of the
that is why I love white people, yo. White people is going to make sure people are held accountable. Yo, we can all learn something from them. If it's anything that we can take from that community, is that, yo, they're going to make sure that their elected officials do their job. They're going to read up on any law passed, and if they're against it, they're going to speak out. And I got to salute this woman for standing firm at that council, at that meeting they had with the community, because there is some concerns. It is some concerns. And for Ivan Bates to sit back and act like that, he's not one of the biggest champions of locking up juveniles that we probably have ever seen, at least in the last 10 years in Baltimore, that is insane. And for the news to kind of pat him on the back and basically say this woman was lying is even crazier. Because I found an article, y'all. And in this article, it gives the pros and the cons. And this woman, salute to her, she's not the only one that found issue with this Sense petition. Listen to this article, y'all. And I want y'all to listen to what this article say could happen once they widen these ranges. Also listen to the small amount of children that actually fit into this, this criteria of 10 and 12-year-olds committing crimes. The debate over youth crime and what to do about it featured heavily on this year's Maryland General Assembly. One of the more prominent bills to come out of the session that ended last week makes a slew of changes to the state's juvenile justice system. Among the most controversial parts of the bill expands the list of crimes with which a child between 10 and 12 years old can be charged. Current laws allow prosecutors to charge these children with violent crimes, including murder, armed, assault, and carjacking. The legislation adds several misdemeanor gun offenses, as well as animal cruelty and third-degree sex offenses. We create a carve out for the 10 to 12-year-olds, where they may not be detained. Delegate Luke Clippinger, chair of the House Judiciary Committee, said in a recent interview. However, detention is a term of art, and they could potentially see community detention, which can be electronic home monitoring or other programming closer to where they live. The legislation creates a different process for children between 10 and 12 years old who are accused of car theft. In those circumstances, the Department of Juvenile Services will be required to file a CITS petition, which stands for Children in Need of Supervision. With a judge approval, the child will receive DJS services and in some cases may be removed from their home. An analyst by the Baltimore Banner found that each year, an average of about 30 children between 10 and 12 years old are accused of the crimes in the bill. When they put even one kid under supervision, it should be a big deal, and it is a big deal. I don't question that for a second, Clippin just said, but I also believe that in the bigger picture, that these are crimes that are more serious and that deserve that additional attention. Despite the potential small number of children affected by the change, the Maryland Office of Public Defenders has been vocally critical about the move, which reverses steps lawmakers have taken in recent years to prevent young children from being charged with crimes. Over-policing is common not just among adults in Black and Latino communities, but also among children in those communities, said Elizabeth Hilliard, Acting Director of Government Relations for the Office of Public Defenders. We are very concerned that the breadth of the scope of the DJS is looking at, and that the system is looking at, broadening that even a little bit will result in further over-policing of Black and brown 10, 11, and 12-year-olds from marginalized communities, she said. Data shows that when children interact with criminal justice system at that young age, they're more likely to experience trauma, struggle in school, or even be involved in criminality later in life, she said. The legislation also alters the process of referring a child to a diversion program. Current laws allow DJS to refer certain children to diversion programs without alerting the local state attorney's office. Prosecutors have criticized this system because they say they don't learn about many juvenile arrests. With this bill, lawmakers passed the requirement that DJS notify prosecutors when they decide not to recommend formal charges and instead start a child in a diversion program. Clippinger describes this as one of the guardrails lawmakers must put around the juvenile justice system to ensure greater accountability. But public defenders are critical of the change. Diversionary programs allow children to begin rehabilitation right away, while the criminal justice can take months to reach a conclusion. Hilliard describes a scenario where a child starts the diversionary program, then the prosecutor decides to file formal charges, interrupting the child's process. For the state's attorney to come in and change that undermines the relationship that the child may have been building with the individuals that they've been working with through the diversionary program, she said. She says her office worries that changes will result in fewer children in diversion programs and more in court. The legislation also speeds up some of the DJS processes, requires the agency to notify prosecutors, defense attorneys, and the court when a child violates the terms of electric home monitoring, creates a commission to study the juvenile justice system, and funds a violence interruption program. There are several points of failure throughout this entire thing, Senator Will Smith, chair of the Senate Judiciary Proceeding Committee, said, referring to the juvenile justice system. We're trying to make sure that there are paper trails, that there's oversight, and that there's accountability, and that there are resources to provide those services. Governor Westmore said he plans to sign the legislation. If signed into law, part of the bill takes effect June 1st, and the rest takes effect November 1st. One thing I always say about these bills, y'all, is you gotta pay attention to the small details. And one thing about these bills, there's always the highlighted issue, and then there's the smaller issues that You ain't really gonna hear about it unless you read into it. Now, you see how the news try to depict this since petition like it was a great thing, and Ivan Bates is not trying to arrest more juveniles. Well, you listen to the Baltimore City Public Defender's Office, they beg to differ. They beg to differ, yo. And one thing I always say, yo, whenever they try to make these laws or whenever they find a problem in the kids of the black community, the answer is always jail. The answer is always jail. Now, with this sense petition, they say it's an alternative to jail, you know. But in some cases, they can be put on home detention, which is another form of jail. And when you got a child at 10 to 12 years old, going through the system at this young age, studies say that they're more likely to become a criminal as an adult. And I agree. It's almost similar to like how when I talk about the police interactions and, you know, me being pulled over and my kids in the car. What perception does that give my kids of the police when I'm getting pulled over unjustly? Or when a person is outside with their parent and they see their parent getting treated a certain way by the police officer. What does that put in a child's brain at a very early age? Don't trust the police. And in this situation, don't trust the system. Because what need to be done and what has been done in recent years, it seemed like we pulling it back, it was preventative steps. It need to be more preventative steps way before crimes are committed. And I spoke about Julio mother, y'all. Do y'all remember that Say Cheese interview when she said that she went to the system for help? And she said that the system wasn't going to help because he haven't committed a crime yet. This sounds like the exact same thing. Once the child committed a crime, now they open up all these doors, but why not open the doors before the child commit any crime? A lot of times parents can see a issue with their child way before a crime is committed. But with this system that we got in place is they got to wait until they actually do something. And now you want to open up resources. And that's like opening up the door to prison. To me, that's what it seems like. But I know how y'all feel about this in the comments, man. Like I say, yo, this is one thing I appreciate about white people. They're going to stand 10 toes down with anything they feel. And they're going to watch these bills. They're going to make sure these bills are ran how they supposed to be ran. At least in the beginning. And this is how it always goes, yeah. Like they say, and it's only a few kids that fit under this criteria. So why make a bill? If it's only 30 kids that fit under this criteria, why make a bill? You know why? I think because they're going to try to find more kids that fit under this criteria. And that 30 over the years is going to turn into 60. Going to turn into 120. You understand? And a point and an argument that can be made that it's because of the bill. But let me know how y'all feel about this in the comments. Do y'all feel this bill, man? I think it need to be more parents held accountable when it comes down to the influx of juveniles committing crimes, especially as young as 10 years old. And if they is involved in criminality at 10 years old, it need to be resources open to them before they commit crimes. You know, you can see a child, yo, growing up, yo, problems in schools, you know, things like that. You can pay attention to it if you catch it early, and you can nip it in the bud without the system ever being involved in it. That's just my opinion. But I want to hear from y'all, y'all. This is another day of Keep It G News.
Nigga can't do what I do, y'all niggas can't copy me. Let's keep shit G. Let's keep shit G. Let's keep the shit G. Let's keep shit G. Let's keep shit G.